Hello, my name is Blais. I'm a research scientist with the Ottawa Laboratory Carling of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. The research and development section of the Ottawa Laboratory has been very busy at developing new test methods to enhance the capacity of our food microbiology testing laboratories to detect, identify, and characterize foodborne pathogens. As a tool for the transfer of technologies from the research lab to the food micro-testing laboratories where these methods are to be implemented, the laboratory has developed a series of videos that will highlight some of the critical steps involved in performing these different assay procedures. The visual representation that will be provided in these films will go a long way towards helping analysts to perform the methods correctly and to identify areas that might require their special attention. Now I'd like to invite you to view this first tutorial in a series of two, which will present the basic concepts for the preparation of probe-coated cloth strips that are used in a Cloth-Hybridization Arrays System procedure developed for the identification of characterization of foodborne pathogens.
Probes are diluted in high-salt buffer containing 30% volume-to-volume ethanol to a final coating concentration of 10 micromolars. As an example, 100 microliters of probe coating solution is prepared by mixing 10 microliters of 100 micromolar oligo probe with 59 microliters high salt buffer in a 1.5 ml screw cap microcentrifuge tube. After denaturation, probes are snap chilled and mixed with 31 microliters of cold 95% ethanol to obtain a final probe concentration of 10 micromolars. This recipe can be doubled or tripled as required. Thaw aliquots of 100 micromolar probe stocks that are stored in 1.5 milliliter screw cap microcentrifuge tubes. Referring to the recipe, the appropriate volume of high salt buffer is added to each of the probes. Probe high salt buffer mixtures are vortexed. Denature the probes by placing in a heat block set to 100 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes. Snap chill the denatured probes by immersion in ice for 5 minutes. Centrifuge the tubes for a 10-second pulse to bring down the condensate from the caps. Return the tubes immediately to the ice. Please note that rewarming the chilled denatured probes should be avoided. Referring to the recipe, the appropriate volume of cold 95% ethanol is added to each of the denatured probes. Mix well until the swirls in the liquid disappear. Do not centrifuge the tubes after adding the ethanol, or the solution will separate into two phases. Place the previously washed cloth strips on trays that will fit in the UV crosslinker. To increase productivity, a multi-channel dispenser pipetter may be used to spot rows of probes simultaneously onto the cloth strips. The chilled probe solutions are transferred to a chiller block in the order required for spotting based on the CHAS pattern. Proceed to spot a row of probes at a time using a multi-channel dispenser pipetter. Spot 7 microliters of denatured probe in discrete spots onto each cloth strip. Repeat for consecutive rows as required. It is crucial that the probe coating solution is mixed prior to spotting. Dry the strips for 30 to 40 minutes at 35 degrees Celsius plus or minus 1 degree in uncovered trays until dry or until the spots are no longer visible on the surface of the strips. After the drying period, the probe-coated strips are transferred to a UV crosslinker. Probes are covalently bound to the strips by exposing to UV light at the setting described in the protocol. This step is critical to ensure that probes are bound to the strip. One times hybridization solution is prepared in sufficient quantity to block the amount of strips needed. To do so, mix 1 part 2 times hybridization solution with 1 part ultra-pure water. Please note that 2 times hybridization solution can be prepared in large quantity ahead of time, dispensed in falcon tubes, and stored in the freezer for up to 1 year. One times hybridization solution is applied to each of the cloth strips to block nonspecific binding sites. After applying the 1 times hybridization solution, cover the tray and incubate at 35 degrees Celsius plus or minus 1 degree for at least 1 hour. The strips may be blocked for up to 3 hours. After the blocking period, strips are washed 5 times by saturating the strips on the filtration apparatus with PBST. Apply vacuum suction between the washes. PBST can be prepared in a large volume, for example 8 liters, and stored at room temperature for up to 1 year in a carboy fitted with a spigot for ease of use. While the vacuum is still on, remove the strips from the filtration apparatus. Strips can be used immediately or air-dried overnight away from light. Dried, probe-coated strips can be vacuum sealed in pouches and stored at 4 degrees Celsius for up to 6 months.